Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Bakhair agale, ni hao, chunashumme, washmale, ohio, gozaimas, guten morgen, hola, boyor, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabi up, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very energetic, the very coffee-holic, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen,
yeah.
Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello, Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely great. Thank you for asking. And what about you?
Well, I think I'm doing great too as well, and I feel wonderful. I feel that as if I'm in shape. Whenever I dress up, I feel cool as well. And then, when you get so many likes over your pictures on your social media, you definitely feel great as well.
Yeah, that is true. But Shazad, lately, mashallah, you're working every other day. I
Alhamdulillah.
think without even a weekend for
Alhamdulillah, yeah.
straight months, mashallah.
Yeah.
No, but here's the thing. When we're talking about striking the right balance, because our job starts at
Yeah.
like early morning.
Yeah.
Usually people are not even up by then.
Exactly.
Are you resting enough? Because I feel like it's so important for your mental health, first of all.
Yeah.
And then I think your mental health does shape your physical health as well. more or
Exactly.
less.
Okay, I think that you've hit the nail on the head. And ladies and gentlemen, when you're on this pursuit of making a career for yourself and, so that you can have stability and that you can buy your daughters whatever they want, I think that you definitely have to pray to Allah Almighty in the first place so that all the avenues open up for you. But other than that, I have made one promise to Allah, and
Yeah.
that is that Allah, aap mujhe kaam de, main mehnat daba ke karunga. So, there's only one thing which I ask for from Allah Almighty, and that is that you give me work. And whenever I'm going to get that work, I'll make sure that I give my 100%. I think that's something which I'm dedicated towards these days. But yes, at times, you do not get enough sleep. You're not getting all of what you wanted to eat. You're not getting a lot of time to get or go to the gym as well. But then at the same time, when things start to work out, when you eventually get to realize that Allah ne haath pakad liya hai, that's the time when you have this confidence in yourself as well that, okay, whatever it may probably be right now because I'm within that age bracket where I can pull it off. But eventually when this work's going to be recognized by people out there, I think that that'll be the level when I'll get enough rest, enough sleep and a lot of work as well.
And
I
I
think
think-
that's how things should be.
No,
no?
you're absolutely right. And when you get that sort of encouragement and support from the people that you work for, I think that it's worth it, right? It definitely becomes worth it.
So thank you very
But
much for saying that. Yeah, but there's one more thing in connection to that, and that
Okay.
is that, ladies and gentlemen, we still are lucky people. We are blessed people. We have backgrounds where,
Absolutely.
God forbid, unfortunately, if something goes wrong or if the career is not in line with whatever we wanted to do, there's always, your parents will support you, your brothers and sisters will support you. But then at the same time, there are people who working throughout the year, they do not even get their Sundays off, and they're just below 14 years age.
Yeah, imagine that. Thank you so much for beginning it like that, Shazad. Because, you rightly mentioned we are privileged ones. We studied for what we are doing today,
Exactly.
right? We had all those opportunities, all the facilities that are, well, as basic and everyone should be getting according to our constitution even.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, while we are, alhamdulillah, celebrating our work, a lot of people even belonging to our age groups are unemployed and well, some families even collectively committing suicide because they cannot provide for their own home, which is why sometimes even children as young as 14 and even below 14 are compelled to go out on the streets and beg or even work at places, which is child labor, ladies and gentlemen, not legal, not allowed, but so common, literally so common that even if you start from your own house, I'm pretty sure each and every single one of us at some point in our lives have hired someone who was that
Exactly.
young.
And adding on to that, there's one more thing, and we're not just talking about child labor over here, ladies and gentlemen. We are even talking about bonded labor, and
Forced
I think
labor.
that forced labor as well. I mean, imagine that if somebody's parents took money from an individual and they were unable to pay it back, so that poor kid actually has to work for the rest of his life. And that's the kind of mentality we see even in rural areas where even if the amount of work he's done is actually equal to the amount of money they have borrowed,
Right,
they
it's
still
never gonna
continue to
stop.
make them work as well. And not just that, there are these organizations, for example, ILO and UN, UNICEF, which are working in the country. But whatever way, kaan ko jidhar se bhi pakdo, it's still going to be an year too, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, over here we do have people who have these organizations where they wanted to eliminate child labor from our society, but it couldn't happen. There are multiple reasons for that. For example, our economy is in shambles. Everybody knows that. Not just that, having a bigger family is a problem for all of these people too, so that they can provide for their family members. They cannot go to schools, and it's just because of the fact that they have to go and beg or probably work at a workshop or some other odd job. I mean, it's just so heart reckoning to see kids 8 years old, 9 years old, and when especially you have your own kids, you would never want a tool in their hand too as well. You
Absolutely.
would want rather to have a book in their hand as well.
Absolutely. And Shazad, when you said that this is because of the economic crisis we're going through, we have to really realize while we are also a post-colonial country, we're also a third world country where I don't think in the near future, really hope so, but I don't think we're getting out of this crisis, right? So
Exactly.
child labor is not going to end any soon unless and until each and every single one of us realizes it's an issue and we, pay our responsibility towards that as well. Shazad, we were discussing, we actually came across a video or a picture of a very, I think he was hardly 7 to 8 years old, the
Exactly.
kid. And he was selling sweets on a Sunday morning, and he had a bruised lip and every, scars around his mouth as well. And upon asking, he said he was beaten up by his dad, Shazad, because he just, I don't know, spent 10 rupees of his earnings from the day on some snacks.
Yeah.
I mean, are we really getting towards that quality of life? I mean, I don't even want to call it quality anymore.
Yes, exactly, and that's one perspective, ladies and gentlemen. And from their perspective, if you ask them that why, Putra, why are you doing this, so they're like that we actually have to provide for our family. And then eventually there are some kids who are actually in love with money too as well. Getting money, even if they're begging, unfortunately, they just want to continue with that. I have given multiple. There have been multiple occasions where I've given offers to people that come. I've got work for you. They do not even want to work.
Absolutely.
It's a very different scenario. But we have somebody
There's
over
so
here
many, yeah.
who's actually made sure, who was actually given in her 100% to try to eliminate child labor, but she couldn't do it. Why was she not able to do it? Ladies and gentlemen, 3.3 million kids, this is like the latest survey as well, are actually working with bonded labor, or probably they
It's
are actually,
insane.
so and they're going to continue to work as well. They're not going to school. They do not have those basic facilities. What should we do about it? This is something which we need to discuss. And to discuss that, we have got a very apt guest over here, ladies and gentlemen. She's a child right activist. She's an educationist herself. She's none other than Miss Amna Umair. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Welcome
I'm
back.
fine. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Amna, to begin with, first of all, congratulations. Your Hassan Foundation is now called Miles and Smiles.
Miles and Smiles.
Yeah.
You made a little change to that.
Yes.
Now, for everyone watching right now, let them know what's changed since the last time you came here.
Yes, like you all know, I was working for the children who are basically labor, who are chotas, who are the girl child maids at people's
Right.
home. When I started with the pilot class, it was nursery.
Alright.
So now the class after 3 years is now in class 1.
Okay.
Now no other school allows them to come at 6:30 a.m. in the morning and leave at 9.
Okay.
So we have specially designed classes for them. We call the kids into 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Our teachers are there, they teach them. So we are expanding it a bit, and Hassan Foundation or any organization has a name, catchy name, just like an NGO sort of a thing. So I never wanted to do that.
Alright.
So we changed it to Miles of Smiles, because miles here means that we are going for 2 miles
Long
and
journey.
long journey
Yes.
towards the smiles.
Yeah.
So this is the change that we have become in 3 years. Say.
Wow.
So
Okay, that is great. Congratulations on that.
Thank
Because, for everyone who didn't understand, I think it's such a big thing, because you did sort of make them start their education, Montessori level. But then if they could not further it, what was the entire purpose of that? So you're helping them do that. That's great. But Amna, you also, I'm pretty sure you've spoken about this as well. You spoke to the children and probably their families as well, that if they were willing to, stop working at people's places and study full time, or you could even help them financially.
Yes.
What is the mindset behind it that does not allow them to stop?
Shazad, the thing is, the families are fed on these child laborers' income, because either the father is, drugaholic,
Yeah.
he don't work. The mother works in people's home, but
Right.
they are unable to meet their ends. So the kids are sent to work. They have to work because they are fed on them, because
Exactly.
they need to work. I have been into their homes, the misery, everything I have faced. I have looked them into the eyes. I have focused them. Please don't let them go work. But there is no other point. They have to go to work. And with educating them, with educating these kids, at least we are trying to bring a little change. And expansion was one of the change I wanted to do.
Yeah.
this.
But yeah, you are while educating them. But I'll tell you, if they're not stopping working at places, the education that will help them to probably broaden their mindset and
Yes.
to further the generation.
And their ability to ask questions as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Question the system, question things, and inshallah, in the future, when they have families, they will probably force their children to study.
Yes.
But we also have to, it's people like us, and I really hate to admit it, it's people like us when in the morning, if our work is, if our help is not there, we charge them for,
Which they are not
taking a day
usually.
off.
Yes,
And we call them,
absolutely.
"Aap chutti kar kaise sakte hain? Hamara kaam kaun karega?" So if we're not taking the first step, who's going to?
Exactly. If we started like this, Pakistan is a developing country. We are facing, shambles in the economy, and everything, is going on hand in hand. Now, see, Pakistan ranks 6th, who is having this child labor issue, being Cambodia at the number 1, and Sudan and Somalia. Now, see, yesterday I came across a study. They said that a simple carpet, a carpet, there was a, we have Turkish carpets in our homes. 1,400 small kids under the age of 14 woven that carpet, or would, I saw that talk on the TEDx, and I was amazed. Every country is doing so. We cannot kill this ailment. Pakistan has laws. Pakistan has laws. Pakistan has articles that all the children under 14 years age have to have free education. But it all depends on the parents who are not sending them to school. It's not the it's not the
claim the rights that you have.
Yeah, it's not the issue of the government. The parents do not want to send them to school to study. It's not. We all blame on the government. That the government is not doing anything for these kids. We have child laborers on every street. The government has laws. The government has articles, but the government cannot go in everybody's home and check who is sending them to school.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that you're very right when you're saying that it's not the government fault and it's the parents' fault, because they really need that money to consume as well. But other than that, if you see this picture from a different angle, for example, you're running the school where you're educating children, and then at the same time, don't you think that it will be a better idea that they can study during the day and they can work probably in the evenings as well? And, so what will happen is that, one, they're getting education. Second, they're actually going to get their hands onto a skill set as well. God forbid, if there's no job, they can open up their own workshop or whatever they do. Do you think that this is a more sustainable program?
Yes, actually we do that. Like I mentioned, we start at 6:30 in the morning, and a few girls have to leave by 9. So they are doing work for their people in their homes, and same is the case with the child boys. They go to the workshops, they go to the restaurant, they go to the hotels nearby because they have to go to work. The only thing I can do it, the only thing we can help them make a good citizen is that we are trying to accommodate their timings and give them education to be a good citizen in coming near future. And we are, that's why extending our this Miles of Smiles thing, that we are extending it so that they go to class number 2, class 3, class 4, and eventually they'll end up inshallah to a metric student at least. That is this is
so
all.
how do they feel when they're attending the classes, when you're giving them free books? Are they are they really interested in studying, or there are kids who really do not want to study and just want to go back home and work?
I hope you remember I mentioned that we mostly do hands-on activities with them. Pehle to we have to bring an interest in their daily lives, that education is something, because they really don't want to study. But now, trust me, they would even want to come on the Sundays. I had to close a branch due to some reason. The kids and the parents were literally crying that don't do this, because they really want to study. We have this interactive sort of learning. We do it with them. We show them videos and things, and we bring in motivation, and then we come to the ABC and written Alif Be part.
But you also have flexible hours, right?
Yes,
you would accommodate
hours.
actually a person if they want to work, and then make them study whenever they're available. That's great. But I have a question for both of you, Shahzad and Amna, actually. I think I am linking it back to what we already spoke about, how we change our mindset. We have, people and a group of volunteers going into slums and certain segments of the society where they want to educate and hold seminars and, tell those people that, hey, education is important, send your children to school, stop forced labor, whatnot. Should we be having educational seminars for the elites to make them understand how actually their part in child labor is, literally deteriorating the situation?
Exactly. I think we should.
Exactly.
I mean,
absolutely.
If you want me to answer it first, I think that we really need to do it, and I've always made it a point, even at my home, that nobody under the age of
Yes.
18 should actually be working. And I think
course.
that this is something which everybody needs to do. But not just that, I think that since you mentioned the elite, once they start having their own babies, they have another baby to look after their
Yes, the
baby. I
baby,
think
yes.
that this is something which is wrong as well. And not just that, imagine, ladies and gentlemen, what those kids go through while they're growing up. That I've even recently seen pictures of people going into restaurants and making those kids,
Sit aside.
girls or boys, probably who were actually looking after their kids, to sit on a separate table and were not even offered the same amount of food. So, I mean, what kind of elite are you if you do not have a brain to use, that the kid you have has got the same heart as the kid who's actually looking after your
Yeah,
kid
and
as
then
well?
you're
So please make
developing
sure I have
so
some sense.
you're literally developing so many unwanted complexes in their
I
personality
just get
as
angry
well.
now with these
I
issues.
know, it's
I
really
don't know what to do
something
about it.
infuriating.
But what's your take on this?
Shadad, we have the Citizen Foundation, Care Foundation. They do have schools for these kids, like underprivileged kids, those who cannot afford to go to school. But again, the child labor situation is a lot different than these schools,
Yep.
because the parents, the students who are studying in the TCF and Care Foundation and other schools like that, we have lot names like that. They are not child laborers. The school which we have is for the child labor school, the
Okay,
street kids
okay,
who
specifically, yeah.
cannot go to school even,
Yep.
because they have to work. They
Okay.
have to work for their kids. When we come to the elitist part of the society, trust me, when we go to the malls, when we go to the restaurant, there is a girl who is pushing the chair of their babies. She's also like hardly 8-9 years old.
Yeah, I don't
but
even know if she knows how to hold a baby,
Yes,
to be
how
honest.
to hold a baby, and God forbid if she makes a mistake, then we see the stories like Taiba.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know,
Obviously.
unfortunately.
So
unfortunately.
this is absolutely right. We need to have the education seminars. We need to, at least we can have this counseling seminars for the elites. To,
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
do not hire them, because under the cover, under the table, we don't know who is hiring a small baby. The government
Absolutely.
cannot see again. The government
True.
cannot go inside and see if somebody has hired a kid under 18 or 14 years old.
Exactly. Thank you very much for raising awareness on this issue as well. But very quickly, before we wrap up this segment, there's one thing which we want to ask, and that is, since you've been looking after all of those kids, you've been trying to educate them, and you're actually giving them a balanced life by so that they can actually work and they can study at the same time. But do you think that this is the most sustainable program which you have invented yourself, or do you think that there can be other interventions within the
Yes,
program which will
yes.
actually help those kids to get education and then get a skill set as well?
Exactly. Now we need, just like you mentioned, that we have elitist mind and we hire them. Now after the counseling, or if they see this program, we need support from the people like you and me, who can send their kids, who can send their help to our school to study. It is not about all the donations. We don't need money. This is a very small sponsorship program, like just 100 rupees a day. A child education costs 100 rupees a day. So it is as low as 1,000 rupees. Anyone can adopt a child. Anyone can sponsor a child. The girl child marriage, the child labors. Everybody can do that.
Exactly.
And we have kept it simple. We need support in form of volunteership. People like you can come in the school and teach the schools for a day, do an activity with them, take them to the park, because at least we can help them make feel just like us, just like
Exactly.
all the kids. And I don't want to let them have the misery of their this childhood memories,
Yeah,
that we used to
true.
work and we didn't go to school, and just like that. So we all can help in this cause.
So I think that this is something which I haven't even asked Shiza, but ladies and gentlemen, me and Shiza, we promised that this is what we're going to do. We are
I
actually
already
going to
promised
go,
her, actually.
Yeah, we're actually going to go to her school. Probably
Yes.
if we can teach, we'll teach. But I think my idea of having fun is just taking them out, feeding them some good food and having some good chit chat. And we'll make sure that we do that and we record
Inshallah.
the footage and we share it with you. Not because we have done it, but because we can
We want to
actually inspire
inspire.
other people as well
Absolutely.
to do so as well. But thank you very much, Hamna.
Thank
May
you.
you
Thank you for
continue to
having
strive
me.
for excellence.
Thank
Please
you
keep
for
on
having
doing
me.
that. Make us proud as well. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, we are heading out towards a short break, because when you guys are going to come back, see, this is something which we were talking about kids. But then at the same time, there's one more thing which our kids are addicted to, ladies and gentlemen, these days, and that's social media, or probably tablets, or the cell phones. We really need to take it seriously. How? This is something which we'll be discussing. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, with Shazad Khan and Shiza Hashmi, where I feel like in the first segment we spoke about something so close to our hearts. Ladies and gentlemen, we were promoting the idea of eliminating child labor from Pakistan entirely. But right now, we need to talk about something important. We need to talk about Kevin, actually. All right, so this is social media because each and every single person out there is connected to social media. And we are hailing right now from an era, from a time, Shazad, where I think we are not independent of our gadgets.
Yeah.
I mean, wherever we go, they are going to go with us. And our generation, especially the millennials, Shazad, 90% of social media users are millennials.
Yeah.
I don't know why, how we got there, but each and every single person is affected by it, is addicted to it. Let's talk about it.
Well, you know, we cannot use the term addicted. I think that it's going to be very hard and harsh for people who are really not addicted and are using it for their positive or probably for the interest of their businesses as well. So there are different opinions. But ladies and gentlemen, today, if we take a glance from an individual's perspective, yes, obviously we can see that, you know, there are a lot of people who do feel disturbed by just checking out on different people's profile. In the first place, they shouldn't be checking them out if they think that it's going to have an impact on them, and that to a negative one. But over here in the studios today, we have a real time case. Ladies and gentlemen, she's willing to discuss it with all of us, and she got depressed somewhere in between. And she never realized, and she was in denial too as well. But then how did she overcome that? How did she realize? And how did she come out of that denial is something which we wanted to share with you. And not just that, later on we definitely have somebody very special who's actually going to discuss the psychological part of it. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to introduce our guest. First up, ladies and gentlemen, the brave lady herself who thinks that she got addicted and then she got depressed and then finally she's out of it, and I think it feels good. I feel great, and I think that I feel wonderful, and it's because of the fact that we really need people like these who need to step up and they speak about all of these issues which they went through, because of the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that you will be able to learn from her experiences, and this is what wise people do.
True.
We learn from experiences. So ladies and gentlemen, first up we have our youth activist and mental health advocate. She's none other than Ms. Zaira Azhar. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you very much for joining us. We're definitely very proud of you coming to the show and opening
so
up. But alongside Ms. Zaira, ladies and gentlemen, all about psychology. He's the gentleman who's actually going to let us know as well. He himself happens to be the chairman of the Psychology Department at International Islamic University, Islamabad. He's none other than Dr. Mazhar Bhatti. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Sheza.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Yeah, it's wonderful to have you both as well. So, Zaira, we'll start with you. What happened to you?
Firstly, I'm very glad that you people chose this topic, because I believe that in the world of today, this is a social media world, and we really need to address, this topic needs to be addressed because it is affecting our youth in a very negative way.
So how did it affect you?
Basically, I started to realize, I was in my second year of MBBS when I started to realize that there is something wrong with me. I was not happy. I had everything. I was doing good in studies. I was trying to be happy. But then again, there was something that was creating a sense of, you know,
hollowness.
Exactly. I was hollow from within. So then I realized that maybe, you know, I should do a research on it, and I should get into this more, okay, what is exactly happening with me.
Right.
I contacted my therapist and I went into him, and what he told me, I was literally shocked.
Yeah.
Because he told me that you're actually depressed.
Really?
Yeah.
And did you agree with that?
I didn't. I was very surprised that how can he say that I was depressed.
What did you say to your therapist? Were you like, oh no, I'm happy?
Yeah, I told him that I'm perfectly fine, I'm happy. So the thing is that we need to realize that social media, of course it's a very good thing, and being a mental health advocate, I believe that social media is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It has a lot of advantages.
Of course.
But then again, excess of anything is dangerous.
You're right, absolutely
Excess
right.
of anything is dangerous.
So what is that thing which actually made you addicted to social media and then had an impact which was such that you never felt happy again till the time you went to your therapist? What were you looking at? I mean, usually during the day, what were you looking at on your social media platforms?
I realized that I was spending a lot more time on social media I had started comparing.
Doing what? What were you doing?
I was actually comparing my life with other people.
Okay, yes.
And that's, I'll tell you, Zaira, you're not the only one. This is such a common, I don't know to call it a sentiment or not, because everyone that you speak to, even, well, there's two
I
kind
mean,
of
Shiza
people.
compares her life with me at times as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's envy you, man.
And how busy we are, you know, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing, you know, if you are using that sort of platform each and every single day, you will definitely naturally start to compare. Some people are good at hiding it and, you know, keeping up faces,
Exactly.
but some people really can't deal with it anymore.
Exactly.
And that is where you do need a professional help. While we will get back to you, sir, now listening to her story, a lot of people can relate to it, and I can guarantee that people watching right now even. Where does that begin, and is there ever an end to this?
Yes, first of all, I would like to add it that mostly we take the responsibility as a parent, and we should see the lifestyle of the child,
Yep.
how he is spending the time on the social media.
Okay.
We recently completed HEC project, and that is smartphone addiction.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that indicate if a person or student is spending more than 4 hours daily on the smartphone or social media, then that is going to be addicted.
Okay.
So that's why I think as a professional, we should watch the child how they are spending the time on social media.
All right.
This is the parental responsibility.
Okay.
Because we have the awareness that everyone is having their smartphone and they are using a lot all the time.
Yep.
And they are not using purposefully. Mostly they are just rating by self. As she mentioned that I compare myself to with others.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I
So
think you
these are
even-
the aimless activities, I think.
Yeah.
It should be used, but properly according to your need and requirement.
Exactly.
Thank you
So
so
that's
much for-
very true, and I agree to that as well. But I think that over here we need to draw the line in between use of social media and watching cartoons over YouTube, because whenever we talk about our kids, I think that they are hooked to their tablets, but all they want to do is watch YouTube, you know, the kids channels, the cartoons and whatnot. And even in our times, you know, when we were going to schools, we never had the tablets, but we always used to be in front of the television screens
Absolutely
watching our favorite cartoons. Is
Right.
there any harm in that too as well?
I
Definitely,
think it's
because
screen time that matters.
definitely they affect the child personality and development of the child, because if they are watching the aggressive movies on in the form of cartoons
Obviously
or like
not. It's
these,
YouTube Kids,
that is also more dangerous.
Okay.
And I think all the channels, even computer or laptop or smartphone or tablets, they should be in front of the parents, and they should keep watch keenly on their children,
Exactly.
how they are using, what they are using, what are the channels they are subscribing.
Yeah.
These things can be reduced, this anxiety or stress.
I agree with that, and I
Yes.
really hope parents out there are listening to this in case you weren't already doing the same thing. But you know, when we're talking about subconsciously or even sometimes consciously comparing yourself to other people on social media, yes, it is leading to depression. And Shazad, I was reading actually a paper about which said that an average high schooler in today's time
Yep.
has a level of depression that people in the time of the Great Depression had. Imagine
Really?
that. And that was like, it's insane to actually, you know, understand the fact. It's what a high schooler is, a teenager, man. I mean, you are comparing their average level of anxiety and depression to that era when the entire world was like crumbling economically and even politically,
Exactly.
whatnot. So you specifically chose to speak for and then advocate for mental health.
Yes, because I myself have been through it. I myself was involved within this like whole situation.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not to raise my voice
Yeah.
to protect
Absolutely.
people from going into the deep shells of this, you know.
So now you have been dealing with people and speaking to them about it as
Yes.
well. What do you get out of them? I mean, in terms of the response, and what do they say about it?
Basically, the first thing is that people don't even know that they're depressed, and they don't accept
Or
it.
addicted.
They are addicted.
Because
basically they're
addiction is the
addicted.
first part, and then is
Exactly.
the
And
depression.
according to one study, we actually, a normal person, I'm not talking about youth,
Yep.
a normal person, he spends like, he actually looks at his phone 150 times a day.
Yeah.
And if you say that we are not addicted to the social media,
I think we
I
are.
challenge you that you just, switch off your mobile phone
Yeah.
for like a week. Can you survive?
Yeah, okay, that's a fair argument. But you know what I'm going to say or ask over here is that do you think that social media only induces depression, and does not
No.
make you happy, I mean, it totally depends on the type of content you see.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time I see this channel, I think it's wonderful. People are awesome. There are people doing wonderful things. Oh, fail army. I, I think instantly, you know, when I see those videos from Fail Army, I just feel happy. I laugh out loud. I watch, okay, it's a confession. I at times watch stage dramas as well. It's a part of our culture. So, you know, it totally depends on the type of content you're choosing to watch as well. So,
Exactly.
so how do you advocate people to see good content rather than watching all of those? I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of clickbaiting going on, then there are a lot of people who are actually promoting all of those hashtags as well, which
right.
in a way makes us all sad. You know,
Yeah.
these days there's this hashtag which is trending as well, where everybody's asking justice for this young girl who was actually being raped as well. So when you see such stories, obviously you're going to feel sad.
Exactly.
But with this gadget, you have the option to see good content and bad content.
Exactly.
How do we choose?
Okay. So, being a mental health advocate, the first thing I realized was that we, of course, we know what is a good thing, what is a bad thing.
Yep,
Allah Almighty has given us a free will to choose between a good thing and a bad thing.
Exactly.
Right? So, we are mature enough to understand
Yep.
that we should not be spending a lot of time on a thing.
yep,
Of course, social media has lots of advantages if you're using it in a proper way.
yep.
Right? But if
I mean,
we
people are getting married over social media, man. They met over
Yes,
social
and
media
what
and they got
happens
married.
is, exactly, and what is happening that everyone is comparing their lives. They think that this whole, you know, everyone is happy
Yeah.
and they're the only person who is depressed, although they're not depressed.
Yeah.
But they, when they start comparing their lives with others, so they literally get depressed and they don't actually accept it.
And I have a
So-
quotation for that as well. I'm sorry that I'm interjecting, but ladies and gentlemen, you know, most of the time there are people who are actually worried about what people are going to think about them. So they really do not need to know who you are. I mean, let them think who they are and what
Exactly.
they
That's
think
my
about
point.
you as well.
That's
So
my
that's how
point.
it should be. So please make sure that you do not bother about that. But very quickly, coming back to Dr. Saab over here. So Dr. Saab, fear of getting judged by people and then having, well, obviously we cannot analyze it in a fair way because of the fact that we are always thinking that this is something which we want.
Yeah.
So we are not in a better position. What are the techniques which you will actually share with us? For example, if somebody is witnessing that they're not happy, they're using their cell phones quite a lot. So in today's time, what are you going to recommend?
Shahzad, there is a few signs and symptoms you can easily identify by that person. If he is normal routine working is disturbed and he is not feeling well, most of the time he is spending over there, his sleep will be also disturbed. He might be victim of the loneliness.
Yep.
He might be wasting the time. So in these indicators, you can identify that person's social life is going to be disturbed.
Okay.
And he is not functioning normally in the daily routine activities.
All right.
If that activities are not going to be affected by the social media, then it's normal.
Okay.
And if it is going to be affect the functioning of the individual, then it should be see and catalog the hours daily usage of this media.
Exactly.
I think this is the borderline. He should monitor by self the daily activities, how he is going to spend the time on social media, and in response, how he is going to be affected by the negative consequences of that social media. The other thing is, you already mentioned related to the depression. If a person is not healthy sleep, having not healthy lifestyle, having not healthy relationship, having not healthy responsibilities or duties, then we can assess the individual. And there is a 3 type of depression. That is, one is mild, that is not going to affect your life.
Okay.
Then is moderate, that is little bit affect your life.
Yeah.
And then there is the severe type of the depression, which needs psychiatric medicine as well as psychotherapy.
Yeah.
Because person is internally depressed, but in look he is quite
Okay.
happy.
Yeah, and you can never tell by a person's face or appearance if they're, you know, whatever
Yeah,
they're
you
feeling.
you can't
But
detect.
sir, you know, like Zaira mentioned that there was a time when even she didn't realize she was probably addicted to it and then feeling depressed as well. So for all the parents out there, are there ways they can identify if their children need help?
They should watch their children activities, daily routine participation, their performance, academic or job performance. So they can the indicator
All right.
that indicate the parent that their child is going to be involved in sort of these type of the negative activities.
Okay.
All the social media is not negative.
Yeah.
It depends on the use of the social media, and that the level of the individual, which you already Shahzad mentioned, what is his interest.
Yes.
If he is going to be used positively,
Exactly.
it will be more beneficial for him.
Exactly.
Right.
Because we remember our childhood,
Yeah.
we don't have these type of the facilities,
Yeah.
and now we compare these children, these days children,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we feel that we are so unlucky and they are so much lucky.
But can I tell you
that's
something?
Not how,
It's-
that's not how I think, but to be very honest, I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, I think back in the days, we never heard this term depression as well. I think that this is something which played a very major role. And then other than that, I mean, the amount of panta we got, I mean, the amount of, I don't know how to say it. I mean, we were beaten by our parents.
Yeah.
Every other kid over here in Pakistan gets this beating as well because they think that it's going to shape up a better
Yeah, it's traditional,
character as well.
accepted.
So, I mean, if we knew the term depression then, probably we would use it for our advantage so that we can actually save ourselves from that beating. But there's one more important aspect, sir, which I have learned the very hard way by realizing and recognizing that. And that is that depression, anxiety, not feeling happy, all of these things are emotions. And emotions are natural. But having these emotions reoccurring again and again and again and again over a smaller period of time is where you need to realize that it's a problem.
It would
But-
be chronic.
Yes, but how important do you think it is for any individual to recognize an emotion? Because you know we have this habit of ignoring things. Oh yaar kuch bhi nahi hai, hamari soch hai. Oh yaar aise nahi hai. Now I'm 32 years old, I'll be 33 in a few days as well. Now I've realized in my life that every emotion which comes up to my brain, I have to recognize it, I have to give it some space and work on it. How do you think that it's going to work? I mean, I'm going to start with that and then come down to you so that you can give
Well,
us a
let me
solution.
also add that Shahzad, depression, while of course there are a lot of emotions, depression is not sadness.
Yes.
You can't say being sad is an emotion, yes it is, but being sad is not depression. There's a
Yes.
huge difference between that. Depression can involve a lot of, a turn of events and a turn of emotions coming all together, just rushing in, then just leaving you blank and hollow. There's just so many things.
Exactly.
But yes, please,
So how
let's
do you
answer what-
recognize your emotions?
So basically what happened with me was that my mental health was being controlled by social media.
All right.
Okay, so मैंने शायद खुद ही allow किया था कि my emotions are being controlled by the social media. One thing which I tell people is that you have to realize this
Yeah.
thing that are you using social media or the social media is using you? That's very important.
Thank you very much for saying that. So, Doc Saab, very quickly, how important it is to recognize your emotions because we have to wrap up. We only have a minute.
I think as an individual, everyone should recognize their internal feelings and emotions because these are going to play a major role
Yeah.
to strive the individual in his future career.
All
Okay,
right.
absolutely.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
saying
much for
that.
being here. Thank you so much for speaking
Thank
about
you.
something that is so essential to today's age as well. But ladies and gentlemen, Shahzad very rightly kept saying throughout the show as well that there are positive aspects to social media as well. I really enjoy the fact, Shahzad, that when we're talking about our parents' generation,
Yep.
they have memories of course, their childhood and everything. But I really enjoy the fact that when I open my Snapchat and it has memories of each and every single day from the past year and years before that as well. I mean, there are certain things that you can enjoy as well.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we head out, I'm actually going to leave you out with a quotation, and it says that nobody needs to know who you are. Let them think who they think you are.
Absolutely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please live with it, and please write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well, this morning.
on Twitter,
Well, this morning without a G.
on Daily Motion and GT,
Well, P2B World.
and the fabulous repeat's going to be a
5 past 11 p.m. tonight.
till the next time. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Stay happy.
Thank you.